The sound of rain tapped gently against the studio windows in Glasgow, but the silence inside was far louder. Crew members moved quietly around the set of Outlander, their voices lowered, their glances cautious. Something had shifted. Something invisible but undeniable. For years, Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe had been the heartbeat of the show, their chemistry so effortless that fans swore it couldn't just be acting. Yet lately, every smile between them looked rehearsed, every laugh felt forced. "They don't look at each other the same way anymore," one assistant whispered to another. And she was right. The tension wasn't born overnight. It had been building slowly, like fog rolling across the Scottish hills. There was a time when Sam and Caitriona were inseparable. Between takes, they'd share jokes only the two of them understood. He'd bring her tea during long shooting days. She'd tease him about his serious focus before a scene. Their friendship was the kind of rare bond Hollywood couldn't manufacture, rooted in trust, shared struggle, and something deeper neither of them dared to name. For years, they had faced every rumor together. Magazines called them secret lovers. Fans declared them soulmates. Every interview brought the same question: "Are you two more than friends?" And every time, they'd laugh it off. Sam would grin and say, "We're like siblings," and Caitriona would nod, adding, "We just understand each other." But behind those smiles was a truth they both tried to ignore. Their connection was real, but it wasn't simple. Then life, as it always does, intervened. Caitriona got married. The news broke suddenly. No fanfare, no warning. For many, it was a beautiful surprise. But for Sam, it was something else entirely. He was happy for her, he truly was. But a quiet ache settled in his chest that he couldn't explain. After all, what right did he have to feel hurt? She was his friend, his co-star, nothing more. Still, something changed after that. Their on-screen chemistry remained flawless, but when the cameras stopped rolling, a wall began to form between them. Their conversations grew shorter. The laughter faded. He stopped waiting for her after takes, and she stopped reaching for him during rehearsals. There was one particular day everyone remembered. A cold afternoon, mid-season filming, a romantic scene that once would have flowed effortlessly. This time, it didn't. Sam missed a cue. Caitriona turned away too quickly. The director cut the scene and sighed, "Let's take 5. The silence that followed was heavy. Sam stared at the floor, fists tightening at his sides. Caitriona stood near the window, eyes distant, lips trembling like she wanted to say something, but didn't. No one spoke. They didn't need to. Later that night, Sam walked out of the studio into the drizzle, the city lights blurring through the mist. He didn't take his usual route home. Instead, he wandered through the empty streets, his mind replaying every laugh, every shared secret, every almost confession they'd buried beneath professionalism. The irony was cruel. He'd spent years pretending to be deeply in love with her on screen, only to realize he'd fallen for her in silence behind the camera. But now, it was too late. He had seen the ring on her finger, the glow in her eyes when she mentioned her husband's name. He wanted to be happy for her, to mean it, and maybe part of him was. But the rest of him, the part that still remembered her smile under the soft stage lights, felt quietly shattered. The following weeks were a blur of polite distance. In interviews, Sam spoke fondly of Caitriona, always calling her an incredible partner. She did the same, describing him as one of my closest friends. Their words were kind, but rehearsed. And though no one said it out loud, everyone could feel the absence of what once was. Rumors soon spread online. Had something happened between them? Had they fallen out? Neither confirmed nor denied. Sam stayed silent on social media, posting only about his work. Caitriona, ever private, avoided the topic entirely. But sometimes, silence speaks louder than any denial. During the final day of filming that season, Sam stood alone on the set after everyone had gone home. The castle backdrop loomed behind him, still glowing under the dim lights. He looked at the space where Caitriona had stood hours earlier and let out a slow breath. There were no tears, no grand gestures, just acceptance. He knew they hadn't broken up because of anger or betrayal. It wasn't about ego, fame, or secrets. It was something quieter, sadder, and far more human. Two souls who once shared the same rhythm had started moving to different songs. As he walked out into the cold night, the rain returned, soft, familiar, unrelenting. And though the world would never truly know what passed between them, Sam understood one thing with painful clarity. Sometimes, love doesn't end in flames. Sometimes, it just fades, until the silence is all that's left. Weeks turned into months, and the quiet between Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe grew into something that neither of them could bridge anymore. The world moved on, but Outlander fans didn't. Every red carpet appearance, every interview, every glance was dissected like a clue. People wanted to know what really happened. For Sam, it was easier to let the world assume. He'd built his career on mystery, on keeping his heart tucked safely behind charm and humor. But lately, he'd stopped pretending that nothing hurt. Fame had taken enough from him already, the privacy, the peace, and now, perhaps, the most meaningful connection he'd ever had. He once said in an interview, "Acting is strange. It blurs the lines between what's real and what's performance." Those words, meant as an offhand reflection, suddenly carried a weight he hadn't intended. Because somewhere along the line, his life and Jamie Fraser's had started to overlap. He'd fought battles on screen while fighting silence off it. Caitriona, meanwhile, found herself caught between nostalgia and responsibility. She loved her husband deeply, yet part of her couldn't deny that Sam had occupied a space in her life no one else ever could. He'd been there before the fame, before the awards, before the headlines. He had seen her unguarded, raw, tired, laughing uncontrollably over bad coffee between scenes. That kind of bond doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers. She once described him in an interview as the safest person on set. And even though those words made fans swoon, to Sam, they carried bittersweet truth. Safe, but not chosen. Trusted, but not loved the same way. Behind the cameras, they continued to work together like professionals. Their chemistry was still magnetic, it had to be, but the warmth between them had cooled. They no longer lingered after takes. No longer shared late-night texts about scripts or life or dreams. It wasn't coldness, it was restraint. Both knew the cost of crossing lines they couldn't uncross. One evening, after wrapping another long day on set, Sam stayed behind as the crew packed up. The production lights dimmed one by one until only the faint glow of the monitor remained. Caitriona approached quietly, her coat draped over one arm. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said softly, "You've been quiet lately." He smiled faintly, eyes tired but kind. "I've run out of words that don't hurt." She looked down, nodding. "I never meant to hurt you, Sam." "I know," he replied. "But it still happened." There was no anger, no bitterness, only acceptance. A kind of peace that comes when two people realize the story they're in together is reaching its final chapter. That was the last real conversation they had outside of work. In the following months, their careers soared. Sam took on new projects, diving into roles that demanded his full heart. Caitriona continued to shine both on screen and as a producer. They would still meet for press tours, red carpets, interviews, smiling, polite, professional. But something in their eyes had changed. It wasn't love lost, it was love transformed, into respect, into gratitude, into something softer but unreachable. When the next Outlander season premiered, fans noticed the same magic between them on screen. But those who watched closely could tell the difference. The looks were heavier now, the pauses longer, the emotions too real to be entirely scripted. It was as if they were acting out their goodbye over and over again, frame by frame. One journalist asked Sam during a promotional interview, "Do you and Caitriona still share that same connection you did in the early days?" He paused before answering, eyes flickering with memory. "Connections change," he said finally. "But they never really disappear." That single line went viral overnight. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't dramatic. It was sincere. And that sincerity cut deeper than any rumor ever could. Later, Caitriona would echo that sentiment during a live Q&A. There are people who come into your life and change you. You don't lose them. You just learn to love them differently. Those words felt like closure. On the final day of shooting their latest season, the set was quiet once again. As they wrapped the last scene, the director called out, "That's a series wrap for Caitriona Balfe." The crew erupted in applause. Sam hugged her, longer than anyone else did, and whispered something no microphone could catch. She smiled, eyes glistening, then walked away toward the exit, her silhouette fading under the golden studio lights. Sam stayed behind. The soundstage was empty now, echoing with memories. He sat down, staring at the spot where she had stood for years. There was no heartbreak this time, just gratitude. He finally understood that not every story needs a happy ending to be meaningful. Some are meant to teach you how to love, how to let go, and how to move forward with grace. As he walked out into the cool night air, he looked up at the Scottish sky, vast, silent, endless, and whispered to no one in particular, "Thank you." Because in the end, it wasn't about losing Caitriona. It was about finding himself again after her.